My pregnant wife ignored my protests and went on an overseas trip with her high school boyfriend. She posted on Facebook, "Felipe, even though we can't be together as husband and wife, I'm still going to have your child." In the photo, they were holding hands and hugging. I commented under the post, "If you're so in love, isn't it time to kick me out and stay with him?" After posting my comment, I didn't waste any time. I called the postpartum care center where I had made a reservation and canceled it. I also called the Women's Clinic Vida Nuestra and canceled all the appointments I had scheduled. The thousands of baby items I had already purchased, I returned what I could and gave away the rest. When I was done, I sighed with relief. I called a few close friends and invited them out for drinks. I needed a distraction. We were laughing and having fun when my phone vibrated. I glanced at the screen and my smile disappeared. It was Sabrina. The room went quiet, and my friends noticed my change in mood. One of them suggested, "Wanted Sabrina calling. Maybe you should head home before she causes a scene." "Yeah, we can wrap it up here," added another. They wanted to help. Ever since I married Sabrina, I hadn't spent much time with my friends. When I did, Sabrina called them drunks, useless, and blamed them for anything that went wrong. Everyone knew how controlling she was, but I insisted on rejecting the call in front of them and forced a smile. "Forget her. Let's keep going." "One, maybe you should," Felipe began, concerned. I interrupted him. "I know you're looking out for me, but I'll say it now. When Sabrina gets back, I'm asking for a divorce. She won't be your sister-in-law anymore." The group fell silent, exchanging uneasy glances, but said nothing more. My phone vibrated again. After hesitating, I answered. This time, Sabrina's shrill voice came from the other end, furious. "Juan Alvarez, who do you think you are ignoring my calls? If this happens again, you'll be sleeping on the couch for a month." I stayed silent as she launched into another rant. "Tell me, Juan," she demanded. "Why did you cancel the postpartum care center? If they hadn't called me, I'd still be in the dark. Are you planning to be this baby's father? If not, don't worry. Plenty of other men would be thrilled to." When Sabrina got pregnant, I treated her like a queen. Everything she asked for, I made happen. I booked the best postpartum care center in Napa Valley for $10,000 a month without hesitation. I loved her and wanted her to feel cherished, but she used my devotion as a license to walk all over me. "Are you listening to me?" Her sharp voice snapped me out of my thoughts. "Yes, I'm listening. What's the issue?" I asked calmly. "The issue is that you're going to fix it," she snapped back. "Rebook the center and send me another $10,000. Felipe, and I want to stay here a few more days." Her words made me laugh out loud. "Sabrina, have you lost your mind?" The moment those words left my mouth, Sabrina exploded. "Juan Alvarez, what did you just say? Repeat that if you're a man. Do you want me to file for divorce?" It wasn't the first time she used divorce as a threat. It was her trump card. No matter how small the fight, I always gave in. I apologized, took the blame, and did everything to calm things down. I thought that if I yielded enough, we'd eventually find happiness. But things never worked out that way. Taking a deep breath, I raised my glass and said calmly, "Fine, let's get divorced." Then I hung up and turned off my phone. My friends stared at me in shock. "Why are you frozen? Let's toast to my freedom." That broke the tension. Laughter filled the air, and they raised their glasses with me. Drinks flowed, and I felt genuinely happy for the first time in years. Back at home, I collapsed onto the bed, the buzz of alcohol and freedom making me smile. For years, my life revolved around Sabrina's demands. She controlled everything, and I let her. I quit smoking and drinking for her. I gave her my entire paycheck every month. I cooked, cleaned, and took care of our home so she could do sports. But at some point, she forgot she wasn't royalty. The next morning, I woke up to loud banging on the apartment door. At first, I thought someone was doing repairs, but when the noise continued, I realized it was my door. I didn't need to guess who it was. I took my time pouring a glass of water as the voices outside grew louder. "Juan Alvarez, open this door now." Carla's sharp tone cut through the noise. "How dare you cancel the postpartum care and hospital appointments? Are you even human?" Her voice grated on my nerves, but I was used to it. Whenever Sabrina and I had the slightest fight, her parents rushed over to scold me. When I finally opened the door, I was met with furious faces. Without waiting for an invitation, they pushed past me into the apartment. "You'd better fix this immediately," Carla demanded. "Sabrina is coming back tonight, and everything needs to be back in place. Is she bringing Felipe with her?" I asked coldly. "What are you implying?" "Sabrina is coming back alone." "Stop talking nonsense," Carla shot back defensively. "Oh, and I heard you got a $15,000 bonus at work," Gustavo added. "When are you going to give that to Sabrina?" I let out a chuckle, shaking my head. It was going to be a long day. My father-in-law, Gustavo, was certainly well informed. He even knew about the bonus I'd received from my last project. "So, when are you giving that money to my daughter?" Carla chimed in, her tone entitled. "You must have misunderstood," I replied dryly. "I'm asking Sabrina for a divorce." "Divorce?" Carla's face contorted in shock. When I said the word divorce in front of Carla and Gustavo, their immediate shock was evident. Carla stepped back as if she had been slapped by an invisible hand, while Gustavo crossed his arms and tried to maintain his authoritarian stance, though it was clear he hadn't expected it either. The tension in the air was palpable, but I remained calm, meeting their gazes without hesitation. After years of submission to Sabrina's demands and her parents' constant interference, I finally felt something close to freedom. "You can't be serious, Juan," Carla said incredulously. "Sabrina will never accept this." I laughed, but it was a bitter laugh. "Sabrina doesn't have a choice, Carla. She crossed every line. All of you did." Gustavo scoffed, trying to regain control of the conversation. "You're overreacting. Divorce? This is serious. You can't make such a decision in the heat of the moment. Think about your family. Think about your child." "My child?" I replied, raising my voice for the first time. "Do you really want to talk about my child? Because as far as I know, Felipe is his father, not me. Do you think I'm going to keep funding this charade? Paying for everything while she parades around with him? You're out of touch with reality." Carla tried to interrupt me, but I raised my hand, demanding silence. "I've spent years doing everything for Sabrina. I worked tirelessly, handed over my paycheck every month, fulfilled every whim of hers. And what did I get in return? Betrayal, humiliation, and a family that thinks they can treat me like a walking ATM. This ends now." The silence that followed was deafening. Carla looked at Gustavo, hoping he would say something to convince me, but he remained silent. Finally, he let out an exasperated sigh. "This is a mistake, Juan. You'll regret it. The only mistake I made was not doing this sooner," I replied coldly. Without another word, I walked to the door and opened it, signaling that it was time for them to leave. Reluctantly, they walked past me, but not without Carla issuing one last warning. "When Sabrina comes back, you'll regret all of this. She won't let you get away with it." I simply closed the door without responding. For the first time in years, I felt like I had some control over my life, and I wasn't going to let empty threats intimidate me. I spent the rest of the day reorganizing the house. I removed every trace of Sabrina. Photos, clothes, trinkets she had left around the apartment. Everything that belonged to her was packed into boxes and stacked near the door. When I was done, I looked around and felt a massive weight lift off my shoulders. The house finally felt like mine. Later that day, my phone started vibrating again. Sabrina was trying to call, but I didn't answer. After several failed attempts, she started sending messages. At first, they were insults, then threats. She said she would ruin my life, that I would pay for everything. Eventually, the tone of the messages changed. She started pleading, saying she loved me, that we could work through this. But I knew it was just another attempt to manipulate me. I ignored all the messages and blocked her number. I was determined to move forward, no matter the cost. The following night, around 10, there were violent knocks at the door. My heart raced, but I wasn't surprised. When I opened the door, there was Sabrina, accompanied by Carla and Gustavo. Her face was red with fury, and she wasted no time before starting to yell. "Juan, what the hell do you think you're doing? How dare you treat me like this after everything I've done for you?" I laughed, but it was loaded with sarcasm. "What have you done for me, Sabrina? You spent years using me as an ATM, as a servant, while you cheated on me behind my back. And now you have the audacity to come here and act like you're the victim? She tried to step inside, but I raised my hand. No, you're not crossing this door. Your things are there. I pointed to the boxes, and I'm going to ask you to leave now before I call the police. Sabrina froze for a moment, but quickly recovered and began yelling again, calling me ungrateful and saying I deserved worse. Carla tried to intervene, claiming I was being unreasonable, but I simply ignored her. Gustavo, on the other hand, remained silent, watching everything with a look that seemed genuinely concerned. Finally, after a few more minutes of shouting and accusations, Sabrina picked up the boxes and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Carla and Gustavo followed, but not without throwing me looks full of contempt. When the door finally closed, I felt exhausted but also relieved. In the days that followed, Sabrina tried everything to retaliate. She hired a lawyer and filed a claim for alimony and division of assets, even though everything we had was acquired through my hard work. She started spreading rumors among our friends and family, painting me as a cold and calculating monster. But no matter how hard she tried, I was prepared. My lawyer successfully refuted every accusation, and when the truth about her relationship with Felipe came to light, she lost most of the support she had. In the end, the court ruled that she wasn't entitled to anything, except for a small amount to cover temporary expenses, and even though it was limited to a few months. The final verdict was a relief. I was finally free, and for the first time in many years, I felt like I could start my life over without Sabrina, without the constant pressure to satisfy someone who was never content. Looking back, I realized that every sacrifice I made was in vain, but it also taught me a valuable lesson. No matter how much you love someone, if that person doesn't respect you, you'll never be happy. With a renewed heart, I began planning my future, knowing that from that moment on, I would be the master of my own story. After months of dealing with the aftermath of the divorce, it seemed like my life was finally heading in a stable direction. However, Sabrina wasn't ready to give up. Despite losing the court case and being publicly exposed for her relationship with Felipe, she kept trying to provoke me. Sometimes it was through indirect comments on social media, other times through rumors she spread among our acquaintances. But what truly enraged me was finding out that she was living with Felipe and boasting that she was supporting him with the money she took from her ex-husband. An old coworker called me one morning to tell me that Sabrina had been bragging about still relying on the money she got from me in the court settlement. She was also planning a lavish party to celebrate her eternal love with Felipe and boasted that everything was being funded by the idiot ex-husband. Those words made my blood boil. But more than anger, I felt a newfound determination. It was time to enter game once and for all. I spent weeks carefully planning every move. Through mutual contacts, I uncovered details about her current situation. Sabrina and Felipe were on a downward spiral. Though they tried to maintain an appearance of luxury and success, they were deeply in debt. Felipe, without a stable job, was completely dependent on Sabrina, who in turn was living off the money she had taken from me and loans she couldn't repay. The party, I learned, would be a financial blow that would sink them even further. The first step was to protect myself legally. I reviewed my financial situation and discovered that there were still services linked to my accounts that Sabrina was using. I canceled them immediately. My lawyer also helped me file a motion to review the alimony agreement, arguing that she was using the money fraudulently. But that wasn't enough. I wanted to ensure that her social circle knew who Sabrina truly was. I hired a private investigator to gather evidence about her relationship with Felipe and how she had exploited me for years. Photos, messages, witnesses, everything was documented. Armed with this information, I created an anonymous social media profile and started posting the evidence. Every detail was exposed. Her betrayal, her lies, and how she lived a life of appearances based on manipulation and deceit. The truth spread quickly, and many of the guests invited to her party began canceling their attendance. On the day of the party, Sabrina tried to carry on with her plans as if nothing had happened. Felipe, however, had already seen the posts and was furious. According to some attendees, during the event, Sabrina tried to defend herself, claiming the accusations were false and that I was a bitter ex-husband. But Felipe, apparently drunk and tired of the lies, lost control and started yelling at her in front of everyone. The argument was so intense that most of the guests left before the event ended. Felipe accused her of ruining his life, manipulating him into a relationship he couldn't sustain, and finally stormed out, leaving her alone in the middle of the chaos. The days that followed were devastating for Sabrina. Her reputation was destroyed, many of her friends abandoned her, and her financial situation worsened. Unable to maintain her lifestyle, she was forced to move back in with her parents, who, I heard, weren't happy about the situation either. Felipe disappeared from her life soon after. Their relationship completely collapsed once he realized that Sabrina could no longer support the lifestyle he wanted. Felipe, for his part, quickly tried to rebuild his life with another woman. His reputation was also tarnished, as it became public knowledge how he had actively participated in betraying me. From what I heard, he tried working on a few projects, but the shadow of his past actions followed him, and his success was limited. No one trusts someone who destroys others' lives for personal gain. Carla and Gustavo, Sabrina's parents, also paid the price. For years, they had supported their daughter's selfish decisions, defending her behavior and attacking me. But when Sabrina returned home with no money or future, they began facing criticism from their own circle. Even some family members confronted them for not intervening earlier and allowing their daughter to live a life built on lies. And me? I finally found peace. After winning the review of the alimony agreement, I managed to recover some of the money Sabrina had taken from me. I used those funds to focus on my own projects, traveled, met new people, and rediscovered passions I had set aside during my marriage. Most importantly, I learned to set boundaries and never allow anyone to trample on my dignity again. Looking back, I realized that all the pain I went through with Sabrina was a hard but necessary lesson. Her downfall was a consequence of her own actions, and while I didn't set out to destroy her, I had no qualms about defending myself. Life gave me a second chance, and this time, I'm making the most of it. Meanwhile, Sabrina and the others continue to deal with the ruins of their own decisions. Justice, in the end, ensured that everyone got what they deserved.